Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spin Rack, and we also have
Alvin Ellis ready to rock.
today. We finally got to it. It had to happen. The choice that we all thought was going to be the perfect choice for the Fantastic Four and Reed Richards. Adam Driver is Reed. Hooray! They got it right finally. How do you feel about this, Cal?
Well, you know me, I'm gonna wait and see.
Ultimately,
I think Adam Driver being selected as Reed Richards is, to be quite honest, I don't think it means anything until I have an idea of what direction they're going to take with Reed Richards. I don't know if they have any understanding of his character whatsoever. And the only thing that we've seen of Reed Richards was in that Illuminati sequence, and he looked like he was dumb as rocks with the portrayal that they gave us right there. So we'll see.
For me, obviously, doesn't look like Reed, but I have to understand that Hollywood they've already gave us a Reed that looked like Reed in the those two Fantastic Four movies from the 2000s, right? We had one the guy that looked like Reed, and being that well, no, it not say that it didn't fail. It just wasn't a big thing like the X-Men and Spider-Man. So of course you want to get to that money. So they redid them, and they did nothing like. I mean, outside of Reed being a kind of a scientist and kind of being the focal point of it, the look of it was in that actor. Like recently, he did the show The Offer. That version of him is closer than what he is now. What he is, but I guess they were trying to do Ultimate FF type of deal, where they were all kind of scientists being together. But this is just hey, if he's going to be Reed, we're going to get somebody that people think is cool, and we're going to have a cool Reed Richards, right? Now, ultimately, Robert Downey Jr., when I looked at him, he wasn't the first choice for Iron Man, but I thought it could be fun, right? And it worked out. It wasn't necessarily the Iron Man that I was seeing in the comic books. You tell that to people now, they would say he's totally the guy from the comic books. So, like, no, I just think it worked out.
You
So
can't listen to those guys. Those are the same people. Jesse Eisenberg got cast to be Lex Luthor, and they're all up in arms. Same thing with Ben Affleck. Oh, terrible, terrible. Ben Affleck. Oh, this is horrible. Worst thing that ever happened. What do we get? We get a picture: Ben Affleck in the suit, Jesse Eisenberg with a shaved head, and all of a sudden everybody was on board. All it took was one picture. So I don't listen to any of these guys.
So it feels like they got a cool read, and it could work to their favor. And at some point they say, we knew we had our Reed Richards when he came into the room. When I think in the early 2000s, when Quesada was there, they were killing themselves to trying to get George Clooney to do a Marvel thing where there was like there's some talks about it. I was like, and I missed it at the time. I was like, I would be bothered by that. So, but it didn't happen. But they got somebody that is in everything. And with that said, there's also a possibility of Margot Robbie being, Sue Storm at the time. And that's not a bad choice, but she is
No,
the blonde for the time.
don't do it. Find another blonde.
Yeah, but that's I'm of the same mind. It was like she's Sharon Tate, she's in the DC universe. And it's
Too
like,
old.
well, they're not. Come on, they that part
No,
they're
they're
not gonna.
tacking too old with these people, man. I don't understand. It's like all the young actors and actresses that were like on the CW doing like the Vampire Diaries, and it's like you can't find anybody who can act who's younger who can fit into these roles. It's like every superhero seems to start, there's like these guys don't become superheroes until they're 40. I'm like, she's too old.
If you
Okay,
want
get
a
somebody else.
name, if you want a name, you're not gonna go young.
No, sometimes you got
They
some
don't do it. They won't do it.
sometimes it's like the same thing like the Superman rule. You don't need a name. You need somebody who can go in there and make that role work. All right. This is Sue Richards. Nobody knows Sue Richards, the Invisible Girl, Invisible Woman. You can put anybody in that role as long as they look
That's
good and they can act.
look. The thing of it is, Superman was them not doing what was expected. That's who is it? That's people deciding the only way we're gonna sell this is we have we give Brando and Gene Hackman a load of money, and then they'll just allow us to cast whoever we want for Superman rather than like them getting a name for it. But it's the thing of saying we cast some names around Superman, we can get away with casting the unknown. So that's it's a thing of Hollywood where they kind of you have the proof in the pudding where you have if you don't have Superman one to look at because Brando's collecting he's in the beginning of the movie and he's not in the second one and it was a big success too. So it's like and they lost the director halfway through so it's still a success. So ultimately the casting definitely worked and unknown casting and work. And at this point, Marvel is well, no, I guess now with the lead of people, the soft feeling about the Marvel stuff. But at the same time, now they don't even want to accept the age difference between Reed and Sue. So how can you get her to be young? They'll be like, wait a second, you need them. But yeah, but Hollywood, the fact of it needing a name, the fact that they constantly go get people in there, definitely the males, but females too. So it's just something they kind of do, which I can at this point it's too hard to, to worry about that because like, what was it? They obviously Charlize Theron is like a Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel, or Captain Marvel, and they're like, no, we're gonna go young, right? And they did. They get the girl in there. They totally undo the costume terribly, and they're like, Marvel's like, wait a second, um, Charlize Theron's still doing action movies. We gotta make her Claire. Like we're gonna put her in this, we're gonna make her in the like. Wait a second, no, no, no. If you're gonna use her, now she's an action-packed Claire. Like no, she ain't no. That's like yeah. Later on, she developed her became the sorcerer supreme. But at the same time, she was someone that he helped and that was stuck in the dimension that Dormammu was controlling everything. And they became lovers and friends, and he was teaching her, and then she furthered her thing and became sorcerer supreme at some point. But let's it's obvious that Marvel looking like, wait a second, this could have worked. We would have had a person that all of the actors would have liked, and now we're going to use her anyway. We're Marvel. You're now Doctor Strange's not his partner. You're Doctor Strange and Killer. So I hear you, but it's Hollywood. You can't really escape it. We lucked out on Superman though. We lucked out that they decided initially to go for unknowns, even though I think was it John was it Bill Murray, one of those guys. Initially, when they're talking about doing Superman musical, they were going with a comedian. Like what? So, but yeah, here we got this. We got a name that they're bandying around to say that's him, but at the same time, what was it? What was that? When X-Men were being bandied around, the cast was Ed Norton, the Cyclops, Kate Winslet as Jean, Angela Bassett as Storm, and there was a Doug Ray Scott, but I think he kind of was one of the people they wanted to be Wolverine, and a couple other names. And then when we went to cast it, none of those people were outside. Well, they switched with Doug Ray Scott, but a lot of those names were just kind of the names that they were using to say to people, "This is what we want to happen," So yeah, that's it. So we'll see what happens when we finally get here. But the problem is that how many space shows and space movies are out there now where people make mistakes and things blow up and they fall in their face while they're trying to go into space. It's on every streaming thing. It's on every streaming thing. Marvel,
if that was the Fantastic Four, then they would be in trouble. You just go back and if you go back and you look at those first 100 issues, you got a bunch of stuff that those guys aren't doing that they could still end up really knocking some stuff out of the box. If you just not even the first 100, just go through the first 50.
But that the saying where people look at the origins and kind of stay away from them, and it's like everybody's doing space travel where a mistake happens. The thing that comic fans will like, we're going, when they wake up on the wrong side of the bed and say, Reed Richards, really, how could he have made a mistake? And it's like, have you seen any story on space travel? I understand it's comic books and he's outgrowth of the 50s space travel, where they would do space travel where you didn't need masks. You could just travel where you wanted to go, but as people started to realize the horrors of space and everything you had to do to travel, it's became harder, and we had to sort of display. And that's what Reed and that's what Stan and Jack are kind of talking about. The idea of struggling with shielding and that sort of stuff is all in there. Like Kirby had done it a couple times before doing the Fantastic Four. There's Sky Masters of Space Force, and this and the Space Musketeers that he did with Joe Simon. So this, I just think that market, there's stuff out there. Obviously, if everyone's doing it, they could do it too. But it was just something that's just sitting there that's got pushed to the back for the what's that thing, the phase whatever. This is phase 7. But anyway, that's about it. We don't have anything else on this Fantastic Four movie. Who the
Well,
villains
this
are?
much I'll say: if you want a successful Fantastic Four film, you got to look at those. You got to look at that Stan Lee Jack Kirby run, because and I guess the great thing about it is that run was so jam packed with great stuff that they have borrowed so much from it and used it all over the place, and there's still plenty left over for the Fantastic Four. The best stuff is Doom at the end of the day. There's plenty that you can still do if you're willing to actually tap that source material and expand on it. The Fantastic Four, if you can really get that family dynamic down, you get the Swiss Family Robinson, you got the space stuff, but then you still get the Marvel-esque qualities and those characters that were created, and you should have no issue with it. Unless, of course, you decide to follow the people that followed you. And well, what's cool with the space stuff? Yeah, let's do that. We can do the fans like, no, those guys are aping you. Don't hate them. Do yourself, and you'll be just fine. Okay, we got Adam Driver. Let's get some younger people in here. Okay, superheroing doesn't start at it does not start at 40. Okay, let's tack a little bit younger and let's see what happens.
Well, not going full on Ultimate Fantastic Four. I'm okay with Reed being is turning 30 or later. I'm okay with Sue being younger, but every time you do that, people are like, oh, the age difference. It happens. Johnny, of course, is going to be obviously a kid, but I need some age on Reed and Ben. I need them to be of a decent age. I understand you want to do 5 movies, but we'll figure it out. They won't fall apart. The same like what's the name? Unless you stop doing movies and then you wait 10 years or wait 25 years and say we need to go back. But anyway, but I hear you. I definitely hear you. All right. So, any other thing? Is that it?
I think we covered it.
All right. We'll see how it goes. And for you ladies, you have something to check out in your Adam Driver, Reed Richards, and say this is brilliant. He's perfect. He's the perfect Reed. Well, we know why you're saying it. You're not saying because he's the perfect Reed because you like him. But all right, spin the rack.
Oh.
Out. Here's my thing. Yeah.